For over 80 years, the Murdaughs ruled Hampton County's legal system like kings. From 1920 to 2006, 3 generations of Murdaugh men held the title of circuit solicitors, the South Carolina equivalent of district attorney, prosecuting crimes across 5 counties. The family's stranglehold on the legal system was so strong that the area was colloquially known as Murdaugh Country, where their influence was practically untouchable. Alex Murdaugh was born into this powerful dynasty on May 27, 1968, the son of Randolph Murdaugh III. Raised in the lap of privilege, Alex attended the University of South Carolina, graduating in 1990 before earning his law degree from the University of South Carolina's School of Law in 1994. Upon completing his studies, Alex joined the prestigious Peters, Murdaugh, Parker, Eltsroth, and Dietrich PM-Ped law firm. He also volunteered part-time in the 14th Circuit Solicitor's Office. Alex married Margaret Kennedy Branstetter, known as Maggie, and the couple had 2 sons, Richard Alexander Jr., known as Buster, and Paul. Raised in a world of privilege, he was expected to continue the legacy, and he did for a time. For years, Alex Murdaugh embodied the ideal of a Southern aristocrat. He practiced law, hunted on family land, and sent his sons to elite schools, living a life that seemed destined to continue the family legacy. But beneath the surface, cracks were beginning to form. But Alex's life would unravel in a spectacular, shocking fashion after he was convicted for the brutal murders of his wife and youngest son. The first public crack in the Murdaugh family's facade occurred on February 24, 2019. That evening, Alex's youngest son, Paul Murdaugh, was piloting the family's boat while intoxicated, reckless, and underage. He crashed the boat into a bridge piling in Beaufort County, throwing 5 others overboard. One of them, 19-year-old Mallory Beach, was thrown into the dark, icy waters of Archer's Creek. Her body was found a week later. What followed was even more disturbing. The Murdaugh name, it seemed, was shielding Paul from any consequences. Paul was never handcuffed, never given a field sobriety test, and avoided jail altogether. The whispers of special treatment turned into a roar when the Beach family filed a wrongful death suit, claiming both Alex and Buster had supplied Paul with alcohol. Police reports were mishandled, witnesses reported feeling pressure to stay silent, and a sense of untouchability surrounded the family. Then came the night that would shatter everything. On June 7, 2021, Alex Murdaugh called 911 from the family's hunting estate, Moselle. His frantic voice filled the line as he said, it's bad, and my wife and son have been shot badly." Maggie, 52, and Paul, 22, were found near the family's dog kennels, both shot at close range. Paul was killed with a shotgun, while Maggie was shot with an assault-style rifle. In the emotionally charged 911 call, Alex sounded distraught, claiming he had just returned home after visiting his mother to find his wife and son dead. However, investigators soon turned their attention to Alex, as the timeline didn't add up. Cell phone data and a Snapchat video from Paul minutes before his death placed Alex at the scene. Alex's version of events also contradicted the forensic evidence, and prosecutors would later argue that the murders were motivated by a desperate attempt to garner sympathy and delay the revelation of his extensive financial crimes. Crimes that were starting to surface and threaten his reputation and livelihood. At the time of the murders, Paul was facing criminal charges related to the 2019 boat crash that had killed Mallory Beach. This case had ignited public outrage and placed immense pressure on the Murdaugh family. Just days before Maggie and Paul's deaths, a hearing was scheduled to compel Alex to disclose his financial records as part of the civil lawsuit filed by Beach's family. That mounting legal pressure, combined with the unraveling of his financial schemes, provided the prosecutors with a clear theory of motive. But Alex wasn't done trying to manipulate the narrative. In September 2021, after resigning from his law firm for embezzling millions, he staged a bizarre and ultimately failed assisted suicide. Shot in the head on a roadside, Alex claimed a stranger had ambushed him. It was a lie. Authorities soon learned he had enlisted Curtis Edward Smith, a distant cousin and former client, to help him fake a murder so that his surviving son Buster could cash in a $10 million life insurance policy. What followed was a media circus. Smith was arrested, Alex confessed, and both were charged. Smith later denied ever shooting him, saying he only fired a warning shot into the air to snap Alex out of a self-destructive spiral. What followed in the coming months would send shockwaves across the nation. It was revealed that Alex Murdaugh had stolen nearly $9 million from his law firm and vulnerable clients, often siphoning funds from settlements meant for people who were severely injured or disabled. In court, Murdaugh admitted to these thefts, claiming he had been driven by a long-standing opioid addiction. Although he pleaded guilty to 22 federal charges, including wire fraud and money laundering, he vehemently denied having killed his family. However, in March 2023, Alex was convicted of the murders and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Even before the double homicide drew national headlines, there was another death shrouded in secrecy and scandal: the 2015 killing of Stephen Smith. Stephen, a 19-year-old nursing student, was found dead on a deserted road just 15 miles from the Murdaugh's Moselle estate. Officially, his death was ruled a hit and run, but locals were unconvinced. Stephen was openly gay and had attended high school with Buster Murdaugh, Alex's eldest son. Rumors quickly spread about a possible relationship between Stephen and Buster, as well as a potential cover-up orchestrated by powerful individuals. The case remained cold until 2021, when investigators reopened it while probing the Murdaugh murders. On March 22, 2023, authorities announced that Stephen's death had been officially classified as a homicide. Yet, despite the new classification, no charges have been filed. Buster Murdaugh, for his part, has denied any involvement, issuing a public statement to distance himself from the mounting allegations. There was also the suspicious 2018 death of Gloria Satterfield, the Murdaugh family's longtime housekeeper. According to the official account, Gloria tripped over the family dog and fell down the front steps of the Moselle home. She died weeks later from complications. However, no coroner was alerted and no autopsy was performed. Her death certificate listed natural causes despite the circumstances surrounding her fall. But the most damning revelation came after Gloria's death. Alex Murdaugh had secured a $4.3 million insurance payout, allegedly to help Satterfield's sons. Yet the money never reached them. Instead, Alex funneled the payout into his own account through a network of complicit bankers and lawyers. When the scheme was finally uncovered, Gloria's sons successfully recovered more than $6.5 million through legal action. On September 15, 2021, authorities announced they opened a criminal investigation into Gloria Satterfield's death. In June 2022, authorities received permission to exhume her body to continue investigating her death. The fallout was swift. In August 2023, Murdaugh's co-conspirator, Corey Fleming, was disbarred and sentenced to 13 years, 10 months in prison, and then on November 28, 2023, Murdaugh was sentenced to 27 years for financial crimes. As if the murders, thefts, and fraud weren't enough, in June 2022, Alex was indicted for conspiring with Curtis Smith to run a drug distribution ring. Prosecutors allege that the two trafficked over $2.4 million in narcotics across South Carolina for nearly a decade. The Murdaughs, once seen as pillars of Southern respectability, were now exposed as criminals operating on a scale of unimaginable greed, addiction, and entitlement. And then came the most chilling accusation of all. In August 2022, a former sex worker named Lindsay Edwards publicly accused Alex Murdaugh of repeated sexual assaults. She alleged that during drug-fueled private parties with powerful local men, Alex violently raped her, choking her as she tried to claw free. Edwards claimed it happened multiple times, each more brutal than the last. She also alleged that some of these encounters took place on property owned by influential locals, and in at least one case, she said she saw drugs and firearms exchanged. Her story cast a darker, more sinister light on the Murdaugh empire, one not only steeped in financial crime and murder, but also enmeshed in systemic exploitation, abuse, and fear. While no criminal charges have yet stemmed from her claims, the allegations added to the ever-growing and grotesque portrait of a man who once sat atop South Carolina's legal elite, a man whose influence stretched far beyond the courtroom into drug trafficking, sexual violence, and what some now call a generational dynasty of deceit. As of May 2025, Alex Murdaugh remains behind bars, serving 2 life sentences for the brutal murders of his wife, Maggie, and his son, Paul. But the walls are still closing in. Investigations remain active into the death of Stephen Smith, a case now officially deemed a homicide, and into the mysterious demise of Gloria Satterfield, whose exhumed body may yet yield damning answers. Financial crime charges continue to mount, with victims lining up, each revealing how Murdaugh siphoned away millions, often from grieving families who trusted him. His closest allies, once insulated by legacy and name, have fallen. Corey Fleming behind bars, Russell Lafitte disgraced, the law firm dissolved. The sprawling Murdaugh scandal has transformed from a Southern tragedy into a nationwide spectacle, a modern Shakespearean saga of power, betrayal, and a man who weaponized trust to feed his addictions, enrich himself, and ultimately destroy everything in his path. In the end, Alex Murdaugh's story is one of hubris, manipulation, and a chilling sense of entitlement. The Murdaugh name, once synonymous with prestige, has become a byword for corruption and abuse of authority. For those who were directly affected by Murdaugh's actions, from the tragic deaths of his wife and son, to the families he defrauded, to the people he intimidated, justice may never be enough to heal the wounds. The Murdaugh story also serves as a reminder that wealth and legacy cannot silence justice forever. Thank you for watching. If this story shocked you as much as it shocked the world, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more true crime breakdowns here on Crime Chronicles. Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and keep asking the hard questions.